Hey, you're listening to the Fit Fun Kaz podcast. I am Kaz and I am your host of this show. Today's episode is on the life journey after losing 54 kilos with life challenges. And when it gets in the road, how do you still keep going and how do you give it your best to ensure that you either continue losing weight, continue training at your best, juggling life, parenthood, work, and some health battles along the way. So thank you so much for listening and watching. And if you haven't, listen to the 6-part episode of Fit Fun Kaz, losing 54 kilos. I am Kaz. I am your host. And today's episode is around health, fitness, mindset. But when you're in your biggest life struggles, how do you fit it all in? Well, I'm going to tell you a few tips and tricks of what I have done along the way to help, because sharing is caring. So first of all, like and subscribe to this channel. It is Fit Fun Kaz. I am here to provide you, to give back, to pay it forward for all the good things. I've had so many good people in my life, and I have cracked the health code of losing 54 kilos. I made it my mission through calorie counting and training at my best. And that was in my mid to late 30s. So I'm now 43. Life is different. Bodies are different. And how do you do what you did before? And how do you keep going when life has changed? So let's wind back a couple of years. We had that thing called COVID and it changed all of our lives, and many stories, many heartbreak, health challenges came from that, but also good things and good journeys if you allowed it to, make you grow. And that was one thing that I wanted to do. So unfortunately, I got a heart injury throughout the COVID times, and very, very evidently clear that after the first and the third jab, I, in the end, was diagnosed with benign sinus tachycardia. That changed my life, and it has changed my life for the last 3 years. I no longer could train at my best. I struggled to breathe. My heart would go to 210 beats per minute over things that were not easy for me, but, a daily for me, running on a treadmill or doing burpees. And the big one for me was thrusters that would just jack my heart rate up like it does anyway, but just to the extreme. It absolutely changed me. It changed my body. It changed my mind, and it changed the way I looked at life. But if I look back and in reflection now, it's been 3 years. Good news. This is not a sad story, but I am being honest. It was an absolute health journey and a healing journey along the way. But good news, I am absolutely healed, and there are reasons for that. And I'm happy to tell you more very soon. But throughout that process, I had to watch my body change. And I felt like it was so important to share the story of the transformational journey. But I also, just as importantly, want to share that there are struggles, and that just because you lose weight doesn't mean you get to keep it off. It is a constant thing that you have to keep shaping, keep working at. And as we get older, it's very evidently clear. And, there is so much science, so much backing, and really cool podcasts that are coming out today on women's health and our bodies and hormone changes, let alone the health concerns that we get in day to day. And that might be from a heart injury, or that might be from, unfortunate health scares that we are seeing in the world today. So the one thing that I knew that I couldn't take away from myself was my hope, was my faith. And I dug even deeper than I have ever done before. I grew up as a Catholic, but there were times where, my faith wasn't there. And I knew I had something greater than me. I just had to dig deep. And I'm grateful when I say benign sinus tachycardia, we could never catch it. I unfortunately ended up in hospital many times and or on ECG machines a lot. It'd exhaust me. And the only thing that fixed it was obviously looking after myself, taking the rest, taking the time out, and eating lots, because I was just zapped of energy. So it was a process, right? Because I had trained for 5 to 6 days per week throughout the health loss and weight loss journey. So for me to actually stop wasn't also beneficial either. And we worked that out too. I had to learn completely in this journey to listen to my good self, to listen to me, to listen to the health professionals, and the ones that were most important to me, my rocks, my family, and the closest of friends. I learned very quickly that there were people out there that probably wanted and meant well, wanted to have good intentions to help me and tell me what I could or couldn't do. But at the same time, I also had to know that I needed to listen to myself and I needed to listen to my health professionals. And so there were some things that I had to do that weren't conventional. Like, I thought resting was going to be good for me. Resting actually made it worse. My body needed to move, but it needed to move in a way that my heart was going to forget what had ever happened. And that came with a whole lot of, whether you call it trauma, whether you call it like muscle memory, to be honest. And I learned heaps about, muscles and heart being the muscle and feeding it to your best. So it was a lot of muscle memory that had to forget at the same time. Incidentally, during that time, though, I wanted to do better for myself. I wanted to be better for the world. And so I actually, I knew, I was like, okay, I don't have 4-5 years in me to do university, but I do want to get some sort of upskill on nutrition. And I very quickly learned how important nutrition can be and is for your body and mind. And I just promised myself I was going to heal through healthy eating, through healthy mindset, and through some beautiful alternative measures. I had some really great help from, I have a beautiful chiropractor and kinesiologist here locally in Brisbane, Bodywise Chiropractic. If anyone needs any extra help, Dr. Dan was saving grace. There was a lovely man also who was an acupuncturist and a doctor, Chinese specialist. He gave me some really good medicine, herbal medicine, and that in itself was a process. There was a lot of toxins that came out of my body. And, whether that be the jab itself or whether it just be whatever was inside of my body had to come out. So I'm so grateful. This one day, it came over me. I had to find this man. I was referred to him many moons ago, actually, when I was getting the second or third jab. And yeah, so I knew this one day I prayed to a higher good. I needed to find this man, and I felt like an absolute crazy person, but it did, and it saved my life. It changed my life. And I then knew, right, I no longer accepted things in my life that weren't serving me. At the time, I had a beautiful career and I loved doing what I did, but I also knew that there were people in my life that I had to say goodbye to. And so I left the career that I was in. I started my nutrition and fitness business, and the rest is from there. And now I know stress plays a huge part on your heart. And for those listening, right, this is not just a natural therapies chat. This was literally a holistic healing process that I needed to take on board. I also needed to look at my training and my food in a completely different sense, that this was going to be me for the next however long. I had to let go of the body that I had and say goodbye to it. I felt like maybe it was a perfect storm after I hit 40. I'm very grateful I weighed 62 kilos, but I had to see it go all the way up to, well, my heaviest was 75. And I'm okay with that. And I had to be okay with that eventually. The ego very much stepped in, and there's a whole side of, ego versus the spirit and your soul. And I learned very much about that too, but I had to let that go. I knew, and it was probably only recently that I knew completely that a lot of the fat I held around, visceral fat, I held it around my stomach. And I also now know that, my heart pumps so hard during those times that I'd get those episodes that I'd get very puffy, I would get very fluidy, and I felt like I just instantly would put on weight. So I obviously understood now that, that fluid, that fat, that had to be stored somewhere else. So that was around the stomach region. And I guess as we get older, it seems to be very easy that we store it there as well. So it was a perfect storm. We'll call it that in the most positive light. But I went on this healing journey. I allowed my gut feelings to work for me. That I think in the end, I prayed that much that I couldn't ignore the gut feelings that were coming my way. Whoever you believe in, whether you believe in, I have a beautiful husband who is an atheist who, grew up with non-beliefs. But, I guess he can't avoid to help. But I do talk. I talk a higher good, and I have to. I go to a higher good because I think miracles can happen. Doesn't happen, just with willpower. You need the right help. And I am grateful, right? With a heart, you can't mess around with that. So on I went to a cardiologist. I got tested multiple times. I got the stress test, got tested for many, many things. We'll just keep that in the positive light. And I am grateful for the cardiologist for, one, we couldn't catch it on the stress test, by the way. And FYI, I needed to be a 10 on that stress test and I got to 15. I said to her, you mean to tell me? Well, we had to stop. She said, how are you feeling? And I said, I feel like it's going to come on, but it used to scare me, right? I very much had to learn about anxiety, and I had to learn about fear, and I had to learn about just facing those fears. She knew, right? I kept running on that thing and got to 15. So we stopped, right? I didn't know at the time yet. We'd well and truly passed the metrics, but we had a good chat. And, no one in their right mind would take, the solution at the time And we had a chat about that. If it was caught on camera, if it was caught on the ECG, the only ECG that did catch was when I was in hospital with COVID. And yeah, I was Brady and tachycardia at that point with beats for like 38 beats per minute standing up, and around that 150 plus mark sitting down. So that was scary. I had to go to just breathing space. Couldn't even call triple O at that point. My husband had to, but I had to just breathe through that and have faith, because it's scary, right? But we had chats, the cardiologist and I, and the solution at the time was to burn my nodes and give me a pacemaker at 41, 42. And again, we both knew no one in their right mind would decide that. So I asked, what do I do from here? I know I joked and said my Olympic training is over. And hey, that's absolute goals and peace to everyone out there who are in the Olympics. But I also understood that there were people during that time that were Olympians or, athletes that also had a heart injury. So that made me feel a bit better that I wasn't alone. And again, I know we can talk about this, and that's why I want to talk about this openly. It is not to talk about how terrible things are. It's just to share the journey, because you can overcome your obstacles. You can. Everyone faces something in their life, whether it be you or a loved one. And I do believe it's the faith and it's the positive mindset, and it only made me stronger. So we had a chat. Obviously, I wasn't going to get a pacemaker or burning of the nodes. And I'm so grateful for our health systems and our health heroes to be able to at least have an option. So I was completely grateful for that. But I just had this freeing moment of like, wow, my life's going to change from here. I now know at least what this is. And I now know, as she said to me, go and live a happy life. Go and do what you enjoy. Back off the heavy weights, the things especially around my chest area that would flare it up. Do easy cardio. I took up cycling. I actually did a triathlon after that, and that was a complete test. That could be another time. But just the endurance cardio, and at a pace that was not like sprint all the time, because sprints would also flare it up. Anything that just put pressure on my heart, we just had to avoid. And hey, that was easier said than done, because I was such a go-getter. I still am, but I had to learn. I had to find peace. I had to find peace within me. I had to find a new normal. I had to just be okay with saying goodbye to the hard work that I'd done. But this is health, and health is number one. Aside from your own health, family is number one for me. And so being a mum with 2 kids and beautiful husband and sisters, mum, dad, like my friends, there was no way in hell I was going to, be silly about this. And I had to leave my ego at the door pretty much and say goodbye and trust the process. And so I did. I trusted the process. This last 3 years has been, every year gets better and better. Last year I knew I was almost better, but I had to just completely put myself to the test. And now the great thing is I continue to exercise. I changed some things around. As I said, I left my corporate life, which was really hard. I love people, that I work with, but at the same time I knew I had this greater calling of sharing and building my health and fitness business and sharing how to lose weight, but also how to rebuild after something that is tragic, how to also rebuild or even just have faith in yourself and have an absolute mindset that you're going to achieve something. As we approach our older years, I'm not old by any means. I'm 43, but I do notice the changes. And I know that we talk about today, in today's day and age, we have perimenopause and menopause, and there's so much awesome talk about that. We also have our men that are getting, in that plus 40s that are also experiencing changes. So this is not just about women, it is about men. And we have, whether you got kids, whether you got your own health concerns, they can be minor, but they can creep up. And, again, it's unfortunately not my first rodeo to health concerns. I got gestational diabetes both times with my kids, ended up in hospital the first time just before delivering our son. And again, we were building a house, selling a house. I was wrapping up, a big job. And again, life happens. And so I just knew I wasn't going to let this get the better of me, but I took it upon myself. Then I went, okay, Kazza, you can still go to the gym. You just can't, train with your buddies and do all those HIIT classes that you used to do. Still be your buddy, but I had to go solo. And riding solo, the song comes to mind now, but I had to ride it solo and I hated it because I am such a people person, but I hated it, but I loved it. In the end, I loved it. And I found myself again. I literally found an older version of me in the most mature way. I'm not mature by any means, but I'm certainly a lot more mature than I was. But in an authentic way, I had to just notice the signs, be present, feel my body, feel trust. Trust was a big one for me. knowing that, as I came out of, we'll call it recovery, I had to test myself and I had to put myself into positions that I knew scared the living daylights out of me, a deadlift, a thruster, and all of those things. People be like, why do you want to do that? Just stay away from it. This is not in me. I love training. I still and always will. So as I knew, and with the guidance of health professionals, I was then able to reintroduce some of those exercises back in my training. And again, it's the cool people you meet along the way, like POTS syndrome. And I didn't know much about that until I, started looking into it, in that bent over position and that pressure on your chest. Going to, my chiropractor or my local physio, because my rib cage was also really tight and it was putting pressure on my chest. There's so many things that also could help me alleviate it. And I didn't realize that at the time. The other thing that was really interesting was my gut health was absolutely shit, terrible. And I didn't know why. I was trying my best to learn, and take it upon myself. I started eventually eliminating things out of my diet, and there was many things that were triggering my tummy to have. I was in excruciating pain for like years, and it was coinciding with the heart as well. So, your body's just like, enough. And again, we all just do the do. And it was like stopping. I actually had to stop my corporate career. And again, 2023 was huge. I was studying, I was working, parent, still training. But I think until I stopped that and the corporate side of it, I didn't realize how much I was putting on myself. So stress plays a huge part on the gut health, and it's the second brain or even the first brain, depending which way you look at it. But I can't just say stress and I can't just say heart. There were foods I didn't realize, like even sugar alcohols and me. Oh my God. So I even changed like my protein powders. These days I'm drinking, there's two cool brands out there that I love, and they don't have sugar alcohols in the protein powders. They have stevia, but it's really organic. It's really as clean as I can get for my tummy. But I didn't realize, and I love certain brands that I used to talk about too, but they have sugar alcohols in them, and that just didn't agree with me. But Banter Lifestyle in the cacao range is amazing, and Mirabuka recently is another brand. So they're both Australian brands, but they are amazing brands to fuel your body, but also make sure you've got the most organic, clean, and less processed sugars, so to speak, that's helping you and your gut health. So that was a huge game changer for me. The other thing that was very much apparent, and again, I'm grateful for Dr. Dan, he said, Karen, you just need to go and eat, lean and clean. And so fruit, veg, and proteins. Now that took me a while to roll into that. And that's not the only thing I eat today. However, when I know I need to eat my best and look my best and feel my best, that is my go-to. And that is just a hot tip to share with everyone out there. Live off the land, and that helps me massively. I do know that yeast was also a big part on the gut health for me. And I know that, Christmas time is a prime example of where you just let yourself go. And I know that, I had to recover from, whether it be, all the good foods, we love food. We are human. I am human, and the food and the drinks. So, whether that be the bubbles, the champagne at Christmas time, or extra drinks, beer example. So many fueled with yeast. And so, I get a build up of it, and it's just not good for my stomach. What I didn't realize though is that I guess they did go hand in hand, that while I was trying to heal from the heart, the tummy was also playing a part. And I guess I just masked it. I would just soldier on. I no longer wanted to soldier on. I no longer wanted to be in pain, and I just wanted to live. So even though I had this happy, positive outlook, on the inside, I didn't feel my best. And my motto is give it your best. And on the inside, I didn't feel that at all. So removing the sugar alcohols, going back to that real clean, less processed foods, and making sure that I was reducing my sugar content anywhere I could get. I wouldn't say I'd have no sugar, but definitely less. And then when it came to bread and me, I love bread, but I had to and do eat the slow risen sourdough. And that is my way of being able to enjoy bread, because all the yeast that's loaded in breads these days just don't agree. So it wasn't until then I started learning how to meditate. I started learning how to really just stay in tune with my body, and then the breathing process and learning how to breathe through, whether it be even weights, so like squats, and the proper breath work. And I'm grateful I am surrounded by lots of people at the gym. Again, being a people person, this is the cool part about giving and being that high energy person, you end up getting so much in return. And that is, I'm grateful for that. There's so many life lessons, but there'll be people that'll share along the way. So even that pot story, meeting someone at the gym who was a nurse and is a nurse and telling me about that. The Brady and tachycardia, again, another person at the gym who is a nurse and helping me, cold water, drinking that during my sessions and having such good support. Also, I believe that being honest with people and just, hated talking about it. I even moved gyms because I just wanted to be a person that was incognito. Well, that didn't last long at all. I am a vibrant person. I do like to, I guess I am happy. The gym is my happy place, and I say good morning to people, and that's been instilled in me since we were young. My dad would take us three girls and we'd go for walks and we'd say good morning to people before we went to school. And I guess, that was instilled in him with my grandparents or my mum, and her parents. So it's something we do, and it can light up other people's days and yourself. So I tried to for about 3 months, I stayed incognito at my gym, or I tried to at least. Clearly, joke was on me. But I had really good people. Again, I had to tell some people because then it was still happening. And this has only been like a year ago. I switched gyms, and I had an episode, and I had this lady ask me, am I okay? I said no. And prior to that, it would happen to me at the previous gym, and I never forget one day I stood beside the defib machine because I seriously thought that was it. And I stood beside it, and again, another great person that saw me. He'd actually educated me on the defib machine the days before, and I did. I just stood there. Now, again, I'd go. I had beautiful people that would help me, beautiful GPs, obviously the hospital if I needed that, but I knew it was my new normal. And again, being so relatively new and not talking about it too much, you didn't know other than, okay, this is an injury. And hey, I got other things after the first jab was myocarditis and inflammation in the heart. So that probably was the indicator from the get-go. But again, I got it very early on in the piece. And that was just it. Again, the purpose of this is to talk about the journey. It's not to rat out anything, because I honestly believe I use this for my greater good. I use this as a part of my journey. This became me. It made me even more grateful for what I am and who I am today. And I know that it made me have a greater faith in a higher good that is bigger and beyond me. I received a miracle and I am better, and I get to tell these stories. Whereas prior, I even had someone maybe 3 months ago ask me, Kazzy, you need to share this story. And I said, maybe. Even 3 months ago, I wasn't ready to share. So I got great help. Earth angels will call you all, and thank you if you're listening, because each and every one of you, if you know me, you know who I am, you know what I've done. Not all of you know this story, and that is okay. You will now. The purpose of me sharing this story is, one, it needs to be said. Two, everyone has a battle with something on the inside that others don't know about. And everyone and everything, you'll come across a point where you want to give up. And even in the most basic, right? I've just completed a challenge. It's an 8-week challenge. I did really well. I lost 10% body fat. I fueled my body. I trained like an absolute beast. And that was me on my comeback. I was like, yes, I am better. And so even right down to nutrition. And when a lot of people, they want to lose visceral fat, for example, around their tummy. And I'm getting a lot of questions now around how did you do it? But I know, right, deep down, I've had to use myself along the way as the test case. I call it cracking my own health code. And you've heard a few things already. Improving my gut health first, improving my heart mainly, number one, and then the gut health. But eating lean and clean, fueling for the big days. This is how I train. I do train now in that high intensity Metcon phase, but I also know I'm not silly. I'm not going to go and do an RX because I know picking that up, I just don't need to go there. I will scale it back, and that is working within my own means. But it's not enough to quit. It's not enough to quit on myself. I set out this year to bounce back, that I would be my best version of myself. So this is the other reason of sharing this story, that you can do it and you can have many obstacles in the road and you can still succeed. Recently, we went through a cyclone here in Brisbane where we are, and that is a never seen before event. We all braced for cover for quite some days before it even hit. Many areas were impacted and other areas weren't. We were fortunate, obviously, lots of trees down, lots of, things that have flown around. We prepared. We have a big trampoline, got it all locked down and loaded, but, preparing to be without power and water and all of that. But I was in an 8-week challenge with the Naked Training team in America, and I love you guys so much. I also prepared. I was that much on my promise that I prepared even my food, even if we did run out of power, even if we ran out of water, what would we do? That's how dedicated I was to getting my life back and bouncing back. And people be like, whoa, that's a lot. But that's how much and that's how serious I am of 2025 and what I am achieving and what I'm becoming. And so even in times like health, big changes in weather events, you still can achieve it. Preparation is the key, and not giving up on yourself and being so determined on your life that no one will affect it. Nothing, not even a cyclone. Yes, hey, it did. And we were all, I spoke to many people after that, a lot of tired people the remaining week getting back into work and all of that. So it does affect, right? And then unfortunately, there are many people that were impacted. So there are effects, but preparation, believing, and actually loving yourself that much that you're going to give yourself the time, yourself the day and energy to be your best self. And I call it mask on first. And I was telling my dad the other day, and another man that helps a lot. And I said, King, bottom line, I know it's terrible that we have these things that happen to us, or we have people that are around us that, but do you want to be next? And it was terrible to say that. But the thing is, if you don't look after yourself, you don't know what's around the corner. I know, right? For us, we have time, we have age, but that's probably been the biggest thing of this heart journey is that nothing's given. You can have scares, and it can, in a blink of an eye, change your life. And so I know now more than ever, fueling your body, eating the most healthy foods, exercising at whatever pace or means you can achieve will get your body better. And I guess wrapping up this 8-week challenge, that's been the blessing is that, yes, I lost 10% body fat. Yes, I got so much leaner in my stomach finally, and my hips and my arms. And I'm like, yes, and my legs. And the lightness that I feel now, the brightness that I feel, and being able to share a positive journey and having that grit, that determination that I am not messing around this time. I know I can come back, and I've been putting myself to the test, and I've just waited for this time. So I am thankful. I am grateful that you're hearing this journey, this part, because I also believe it's not always sunshine and lollipops. And that's probably why I have to share this story, because everyone will come across a challenge. It's just, how bad do you want it? How bad? Because the quick part of it all is even right down to the basics, right, of losing weight. The easiest version is to quit. Within that first 2 to 3 weeks, because you either don't see results, something changes, someone gets in the road, someone has something going on, and you devote that time to them with your mum, dad, brother, sister, friend. Something will happen. Something will always happen, right? We hope in a perfect world we just get a dream run. It doesn't happen like that all the time. But it's how bad do you want it, and how much are you prepared to put yourself on the line for a priority level? Right? Are you putting yourself at the top of the list? And if you can't put yourself top, that's okay too. If you're a parent, caregiver, etc., I get it. But somewhere up there is you, and you have to make it you, because you can experience your best life yet. If you haven't put yourself at the top, I strongly recommend putting yourself at the top and giving it a go. You're not going to be at the top every single day. It's not like that, but you are making yourself the priority to your health, to your fitness, and to bouncing back from something. Bouncing back. Some things are curable and some things aren't. And I know we all have, we roll the dice on that, and it's life. Make it the best that you can. And out of a challenge, out of a health challenge, how do you transform? So this is another transformation of mine that I am grateful I am sharing. I'm much better. I'm so much better. And I'm coming out of an 8-week challenge, leaner, stronger, happier, and just high-fiving. And I'll keep you posted on how I go there, because that would be the ultimate dream as well, to win something there, to say, yes, I am back. So my challenge, or my question for you all today is, what are you doing to put yourself on the priority list for your health, for your happiness, for your challenge that you want to do, for the beautiful life that you want to live with your kids? What role model are you being, whether it be at work, at home? And are you living this life to the fullest? Are you giving back to you? Are you stop and are you listening to yourself? Are you listening to those gut feelings that you might be getting that you're ignoring? Are you putting something in place? Have you had these gut feelings to either sign up to something, call someone that you haven't spoken to in so long? Just do it. And again, get curious with your life. Keep moving forwards. Momentum got me out of where I was. I was not sitting and I was not accepting just, plain answers of this is how you're going to be now. My gosh, I am grateful. I am so grateful I am where I am today. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. This is a different episode of Fit Fun Kaz. Please send me your comments below. And I look forward to sharing more stories and also interviewing more cool people on health and fitness and wellness in this world. And the world needs more brightness. We need, right? I have a color here today. If you're watching, it is fluoro yellow. And thank you, Aj. It is a beautiful fluoro yellow green shirt. And I do believe, right, I love fluoro. And there's a reason I love fluoro, and that is to provide brightness in this world, to also feel good. Now, there are people that would choose colors that are darker colors. I love that too. I love wearing my blacks. But seriously, the fluoro yellow, the fluoro is me, and it's providing brightness in this world. So I hope you've got some learnings out of this. Please send me your feedback. I value it all. I look forward to seeing you for many more episodes on Fit Fun Kaz to come. Like and subscribe and go out there and give it your best. Thank you.